Hi everyone, I wanted to give a 5-month update into the life of labyrinthitis and living with that condition, vestibular disorders, and also long COVID. So, as I shared with you in my last video, I did finally get the diagnosis of labyrinthitis. It did take me a while to get there, but I finally did. I finally saw an ENT who specialized in vestibular disorders, so it was really good to finally feel validated that something was wrong and finally get my diagnosis. Now, I will go a little bit more into the symptoms as of right now and then long COVID as well. If you recall, all this began with COVID-19. So my labyrinthitis is specifically stemming from the COVID-19 virus. Now, labyrinthitis can be obviously stem from a lot of different other viruses, other bacteria, injury to your ear, but mine specifically was COVID-19, and it was obviously very simple for me to find that out because I tested positive for COVID on January of 2022. As I progressed, the dizziness became a huge issue, and as many of you with labyrinthitis or even with vestibular disorders, the dizziness is the most debilitating thing really of the disease, because it just throws your body completely upside down, literally. You cannot concentrate, brain fog is extreme, and it's very scary, and it's a lot of anxiety that comes through it. So what are my symptoms as of today, 5 months into this? I'm still dealing with dizziness. I am not having 24/7 dizziness, however. I am finding that the visual dizziness is something that will continue to be part of me. When I visited the ENT, he provided a very simple but concise summary of what vestibular disorder, especially labyrinthitis, is. So he's told me think about it as a tripod, with your vestibular system being the tripod. One of the legs is your ear, and another leg is your eyes, and another leg is your sense of balance, like your senses. So like your feet and your hands. And he said, when your ear is gone, you're going to be using, your hands and your feet a lot more often. And also your eyes. Well, unfortunately, your eyes are a lot slower to pick up where in direction your vestibular direction of your body is. Your ears are made specifically to balance you. Like, that is what is in your inner ear, is your labs is specifically made to balance you. So when one of it is gone, or at least there is a deficiency in one, the other one tries to compensate, and sometimes it overcompensates or undercompensates, and it doesn't know exactly where to go. So it uses the eyes a lot. Because it uses your eyes, then you'll have a lot of different issues stemming from it, whether it be gazing inability, gazing stability, just a lot of different issues. For me, my left eye, which is correlates with my left ear, is the problem. So up and down is not too much of an issue, so looking up and down. But if I were to do side to side or even diagonal, especially diagonal, my gaze kind of the only thing I can think of is like my left eye is kind of lazy. It's not lazy, but that's what it feels like. Like there is like a lag in my vision, and so the lag makes me dizzy. So it's still I'm still struggling with that. I am still doing vestibular therapy, and trying to desensitize my gaze is a lot of work and is very, very slow. And it's frustrating at times, but I've been assured over and over that it's very, very normal. So I will continue to do vestibular therapy probably for a long time. Obviously, the vestibular therapist has stated that we don't have to meet as often as I had done it. I usually go twice a week. She has stated that maybe once or even, 3 times a month would be something to move into. And then it would be kind of a maintenance, so as needed. And it would just be recalibrating and kind of just keeping me accountable that I'm still using some of those tools and techniques at home. I have to say, when I'm not feeling as dizzy, I do get lazy and I'm like, oh, I feel great. And so I may skip on my exercises, and then, the next day I'll be dizzy again, and then I'll be like, oh, reminder, I still need my exercises. So being accountable to that and into her is something that I really do want. So I will continue my vestibular therapy. So I did finally get that diagnosis. I am happy, but at the same time, it did confirm kind of what I had wrong. And unfortunately, with labyrinthitis, one of the things that he said is there's no cure for it. It kind of stays with you. He said the inflammation of the inner ear is short-lived. It typically only lasts a couple weeks, if that. He's like, after the initial inflammation usually recovers. There's nothing there. But there is vestibular inefficiencies that will linger. And he's like, unfortunately, some people are very quick at recovery, like their brain automatically kind of knows that something is wrong, and so it will process the inefficiency faster. And he said, unfortunately, the younger you are, the harder it is. And that's kind of like the opposite, you would think. But because he said usually as you grow older, you lose vestibular efficiency anyway, so your brain kind of knows that you're losing it, and so it'll pick up different things. But in younger people, your brain is wired to know that your ear is the one that should be, balancing you out. So rewiring your brain and using that neuroplasticity is going to be a struggle. And he said, eventually I'll probably get there, but he doesn't have a timeline. There is no set timeline for this. It's really up to my brain and myself, how often I'm doing exercises, how often I'm desensitizing my gaze, that it'll take. So he wouldn't give me a timeline. He said I would probably have to follow up with him every 6 months, just for the first year, just to kind of figure out where I'm at, and also rechecking my hearing. I am still not 100% back on my hearing. They don't know if I'll ever regain it. He thinks I will. In fact, the second time they rechecked my hearing, I had a little bit of a hearing loss on my right as well. So it is something that I will have to continue and just be on top of it. I don't really notice it at the beginning. At the very beginning, I did notice right away that I had some hearing loss on my left, because I heard, the difference. But now I don't really. I think my brain got used to it. When I went into the booth, I obviously couldn't hear very low pitch and high pitches that are very faint. I couldn't hear them on my left, and honestly, those kind of sounds you're not really going to find in the real world, unless like you're talking to like maybe a child that is very soft spoken. So it's not like I lost a lot of hearing. So that it's nice, but at the same time it's not, because obviously as I get older, you kind of lose hearing anyway. So I may have to just hope that I don't lose it too fast as I age. So that's kind of where my labyrinthitis is at the moment. I am still dealing with some dizziness. It is not 24/7. The rocking sensation of the boat is gone. The brain fog has lifted. I do have some days where I do feel still for brain fog, but that has lifted somewhat. At the beginning, they thought that I had vestibular migraines. They still believe I do, and I still think I do too as well, because I now can make the difference between labyrinthitis dizziness and then migraine dizziness, and they're different. Labyrinthitis dizziness is kind of a loss of control, and vestibular migraines to me are more pressurized dizziness. And I know it's kind of hard to verbalize that, but there is a distinction. I have not fully received my vestibular migraine diagnosis. They think that that's what it is. However, I will be going to a neurologist to confirm that. My first neurologist didn't believe that I had vestibular migraines. He just didn't think that I presented that way. He thought maybe it was all the labyrinthitis. And I'm still debating whether one or the other. When I read about vestibular migraines, I do fit some of those descriptions, but again, I'll have to verify with my neurologist and see, what they think about it and what testing needs to be done. So 5 months into this, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm still in darkness. I am not at light, because I still have days where I'm struggling with dizziness. I still have days where my gaze is very inefficient. It's not stable. But those days are fewer and fewer, far between, which is great, because before it was all day, every minute, every second. I would say on a given week, I probably have about 3 bad days. And they could be 3 bad days in a row, or they could be, a bad day here and there. I probably have 1 day out of the 3 that is completely like shut me down. I only want to be laying down. And believe me, after being every day like that, even once a week is so nice, because it just gives me a breather. So I can be, myself at certain points, and I'm not constantly like worrying, and the anxiety is not like fully, completely engulfing. Speaking of anxiety, one thing that did kind of stick around with the labyrinthitis is the anxiety. I think my brain got wired and looped into the anxiety pattern, because of the loss of balance. Obviously, anxiety became, the fight or flight mode in my brain, and I am finding it really hard to get out of it. In fact, sometimes I'm not even dizzy, and I'm just anxious. And that kind of brings me to the long COVID symptoms, because even with labyrinthitis, knowing what the cause and symptoms were of those, it doesn't explain the other symptoms, and it almost confirms that labyrinthitis was not the cause of those symptoms. So now my shift has kind of been a little bit more into the long COVID, because I feel like my labyrinthitis is somewhat at bay and somewhat in control. And also, it was the most debilitating symptom that I had. So, what are the long COVID symptoms that I have? Fatigue. And that is something that labyrinthitis also has. But as my dizziness subsides, my fatigue should also. And it has not. My fatigue has stayed the same. And that is something that long COVID and long haulers, I've read that we all kind of share, is the fatigue. I used to be somebody who never took a nap. Like, I could not literally take a nap. Like, I could lay down and my brain would just always be wired to do a million things at once. And I just could never function like that. I just never took a nap. But now I need a nap. I need 3 naps. I have to get up in the morning, and honestly, by mid-morning, I am done. Like 10, 11 a.m., I have already, dealt with some of my morning routine, and I feel extremely tired, even though I've slept 12-hour nights or 8 hours or whatever, doesn't matter. I'm just beat, and so I have to take like an hour nap just to function. I have to take 3 naps a day just to function, and it's kind of depressing in a way, because I am the kind of person that didn't need that kind of nap. So in order to function, I have to take 3 naps a day. So mid-morning, probably mid-afternoon, and honestly probably before bedtime. I usually take a quick nap. I don't take long naps. They're usually 30 minutes long, 20-30 minutes long. But if I don't, my body just completely cannot function. Like, it shuts down completely. I literally cannot think. Another thing that I noticed, and one thing that was very symptomatic for the labs, was the neck pain. The neck pain did subside somewhat. However, one thing that I've noticed that might be linked to long COVID is just overall joint inflammation. I'm so inflamed. I feel like I have full-on arthritis, and I probably do, but it doesn't show up yet. I've gotten tested for it and inflammation, and it's not showing in the markers, but I feel it. It's like all my joints, from like literally my toes hurt. The joints on my toes hurt. So my neck is still bothering me. I do go to physical therapy for that. The acuteness of the neck pain has subsided, but I still feel inflamed, and I still feel joint pain. And because of that, I had gone to a chiropractor for years and years and years. In fact, most of my life I've actually gone to a chiropractor, because I have just deformities in some of my low back and in my neck that, I've had issues with those. And one thing that happened during this whole labyrinthitis thing, and just recently, was I went to just a routine chiropractor care, and instead of getting relief, I got injured due to the treatment. There was nothing different about it, except for the fact that I think I'm just extra inflamed, and he probably just was a little bit more, used more force than usual. And honestly, he probably pinched a nerve, and I've been having back problems ever since. It was to the point where I had to go to ER to get a shot put in because it just hurt so bad. It was causing sciatica pain. And, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got injured by the chiropractor treatment. I don't know if my long COVID symptoms contributed to that. And then obviously the inflammation is just not coming down. That is one thing that I did notice regarding the dizziness and one of the labyrinthitis symptoms is because I had such an acute reaction to my back and I was in a lot of back pain, and I still am actually, my lab symptoms kind of diminished. I don't want to say went away because I'm still having them, but they diminished a lot. So it happened in about 2.5 weeks now, and I can tell you that first week I was in a lot of pain, like a lot of pain from my back. My sciatica was on fire. I just couldn't even sleep. And it was just so funny how your brain works, because I was focusing so much on my back pain and my sciatica pain that my brain didn't have any more power to use it for dizziness, if that makes any sense. So like for literally 2.5 weeks, my dizziness has subsided a lot. But I have back pain. So I don't know. You trade one thing for the other. So I'm dealing with that. So that is something long COVID related that I did want to share, is the chronic, constant joint inflammation and pain. And it's not specifically to any point of the body. It's just everywhere. It's like my body hurts. I don't know what fibromyalgia is, but I can only imagine. It's just like you wake up and your body hurts. You're just awake and your body hurts. You go to bed and your body hurts. And it's like you can't get comfortable. I mean, I put ice on it. We've tried prednisone. I've had so much prednisone with the labyrinthitis anyway. And now with pain in my back and sciatica, I just go through prednisone and prednisone and prednisone. And honestly, prednisone makes me sick and I just hate it, but it's something that works, so I will continue to use it. Another thing that I've noticed is just the puffiness of everything, and that goes with the inflammation. At first I thought I was just puffy because of the labyrinthitis, but it's not going down. Yes, I'm overweight. Yes, I am cheeky. And so that there's something very natural about it, but there's just like a puffiness, like, like when you have just a long overnight, or you eat too much salt, you get puffy. Well, my puffiness never goes down, and I feel it not only in my face, but all over my body. I never feel not puffy. So it's always kind of uncomfortable. No matter how clean of a diet I do, no matter how much water I drink, it is always there. And that is something that correlates to my palpitations. At first, when this first started, I actually went to the ER because of the palpitations. But as with the labs, it should subside, and it hasn't. It has continued through the 5 months, and at first I thought it was anxiety related because of the labs, and it's just not. So one thing that lingers is the palpitations, and you probably can see one of my wires because I do have a heart monitor, and I've been wearing it for almost 20 days now, so I will be sharing kind of those results as well. One of the things that they're testing me for is POTS. POTS can and also have some symptoms that kind of correlate a little bit with labs, which is dizziness, palpitations, headaches, migraines, fatigue, overall just malice, and just feeling sick. So POTS is something that can be linked to COVID, and so they're testing for that. Um, but it also could be just long COVID symptoms. So there are still things that don't quite mesh with the labyrinthitis. That at the beginning I thought maybe they were part of it, but as I am healing from the labyrinthitis, it seems like the other symptoms might be related to something else. So getting to the root cause of those will be interesting. So it feels overwhelming because I feel like I should be healing, and I am, but only portions of me are. There are other portions that are not. Now, where I am at today is a long road from where I started, and it has been a very arduous, tremendous path that I would not wish upon anybody, especially the vestibular symptoms. I think that I can take the fatigue, I can take the shortness of breath, I can take the palpitations, I can take the occasional dizziness, but the constant 24/7 rocking of the boat, sensation, dizziness, anxiety-filled days, those were literally a nightmare, and I am happy to report that I'm slowly getting better. So I am really looking forward for the next month to find out what is in store. I can only get better, and I will be finding out more results regarding my long COVID. That is a portion that I'm beginning to just unravel, because my main focus up to now was really to get to the root cause of my dizziness, which we've found. It took me almost 5 months to get here. Obviously, I got the pre-diagnosis 90 days in, but, finally getting the full diagnosis with evidence and data to back it up makes it just much more manageable than just to think of something else that might be wrong. So I will start my long COVID journey. And I will also update, obviously, on the labyrinthitis journey as well. So they kind of coincide again, because everything came from the COVID-19 virus. So I hope your recovery is going well. I hope that everything is going a little bit smoother than mine, and we'll see the light here very soon. Blessings.